Buongiorno everyone, welcome back to Lineup Predictions here at the Magpie Channel TV. Man City on Sunday, 4:30 kickoff live on Sky Sports away at the Etihad. Oh, Man City straight after Liverpool, not what we wanted, not at all what we wanted. Top of the league currently with 4 games left to go are Man City. Only 1 point ahead of Liverpool, who beat us last week to go ahead of them temporarily. Only 1 point behind them, so they went 2 points ahead on Saturday afternoon before Man City's later game. I think that was a 4:30 kickoff as well, or was the 5:30 later game? So still ahead with all to play for. Literally all to play for now as they went out of the Champions League late on in extra time of the Champions League semi-finals on Wednesday to Real Madrid. No FA Cup for them this year either. So literally all the eggs are in their basket. Whereas Liverpool in second may not win the league, but at least they're in the Champions League and FA Cup finals. So Liverpool have a cushion to fall back on if they don't manage to win the Premier League, whereas Man City have this all to play for. So it's going to be a scary one. Not looking forward to this game. Obviously, it's Man City. They don't need any excuse to come out. They'll be all out firing for this game. Eddie Howe mentioned them in his press conference this morning, which I'll pull up for you now before we go any further. He says, from our perspective, we will 100% prepare. Prepare. We will 100% prepare for the best Man City, so we'll have to be the best Newcastle we can be. Looking back to last week against Liverpool, that was the disappointing thing, that we just lacked a bit of intensity. And we did, because it was only 1-0, which on paper against Liverpool, that's fine. Like on their day, they could have absolutely whacked us 5-6-0, but we were brilliant. We defended really well, but there was just a little lack of intensity. I'm not sure if the starting 11 was quite right. I don't know if we're set up quite right, but the results at the end of the day was pretty fair. We've had that intensity consistently for the last 2 or 3 months, and that's why we didn't get the result we wanted against Liverpool. I think we can add that part back into our game on Sunday. Hopefully, we can put in a good performance. And again, that's all we really need, a good performance. As I say, it is Man City, and it is away where we've got an abysmal record, really, as expected. But it even goes back to the pre-City takeover, having a look at some stats from earlier on. And we've never beat Man City at the Etihad Stadium in the Premier League since that opened. I think it was around about 2004 that Etihad opened, earlier than I expected. I thought it was around about 08 or 09, so I've learned something today. It opened about 5 years earlier than I thought it was. Our last win against Man City in the Premier League away was at the Old Stadium, Main Road, a 1-0 win in 2000, where Alan Shearer scored that goal. And since the Etihad opened up in May 2004, well, since May 2004, we have only taken 2 points out of that. A 1-1 draw in 2005, another goal from Alan Shearer, and a 0-0 draw in 2006. So 2006, the last point we got as much as a point from the Etihad. No wins at all since our first game there in 2004. Our last couple of games there away in 2020, we played them twice, in which we got beat 5-0 the season before, and then 2-0 the season before that. And last year, we played them twice at home, in which there were pretty good games, to be fair. Just the most recent one was a bit of a disappointment one. That was 4-0 back in December. We didn't like that game. I think that, along with the Leicester and Spurs away games, they're the 3 worst games since Eddie Howe took over, since the new ownership. Them 3 games are what stand out to me in the Eddie Howe era as the bad performances. So we don't want another one of them on the record this close to the end of the season. We want to try and go out on a high. As a 1-0 away defeat like we got against Liverpool at home last week isn't the worst. But the game towards the end of last season at St James's was a very interesting one. 4-3 defeat that was. Went 1-0 down, ended up 3-2 up. Joe Linton scored a penalty in that game, but a hat-trick by Ferran Torres now at Barcelona seen them get the 4-3 win in that game. But even with one of them, an entertaining game where we're still only going to get beat by 1 goal, I'll take that. That's entertaining. It's a good performance. 3 goals on the day, only 1. Defend well, like we did against Liverpool. I thought we were solid. Yeah, we've got these to come. So Man City's last defeat was in February to Spurs, a 3-2 defeat that day in February, back end of February. And since then, have only drawn twice, and one of them was against Liverpool, the other being Palace. So I had a very, very good record since the turn of the year. Like us and like Liverpool, I think we are the 3 informed teams in the Premier League in the year 2022. Before we go much further, I'm just going to give betmate the plug that it needs. If you can see the banner going across the bottom there, use the code MCI-NEW to join in with our league this week. Fantasy Premier League team pick between the 2 teams. I'm going to show you mine. There it is there. Obviously, I've kind of dominated it with City players, as you can probably understand. Bruno and St. Maximin join in my team. You can select 4 players for your bench: a goalkeeper, a defender, a midfielder, and a striker, which aren't in the visual there. I'll tell you who is in my team once I pull it up right now. It is obviously Dubravka on the bench, Matt Targett as my defender, and Joe Linton as my midfielder. And I've got Raheem Sterling as my forward player. And the beauty with betmate is you can change your team from up to 5 minutes before kickoff, unlike most other Premier League fantasy teams where you pretty much got to have it locked in by the weekend. So the team news comes out an hour before kickoff, and you have 55 minutes to get that changed if there is any changes, which there always is for Man City. Like, that's why I don't really have any Man City players in my Premier League fantasy team. Like, I love Cancelo and Diaz at the back. Got me quite a lot of points at the back end of last season, but Man City's squad depth is so big. Like, even De Bruyne, who in my opinion is Man City's best player, doesn't start week in, week out. £100 million Jack Grealish doesn't start week in, week out. So you can get that changed right up until the end. It is a £5 deposit this week with a potential £350 return. I believe it is. Just going to check that one as well. 350, is it? Yes, it is. Where's it gone? Yeah, £350 pot to pay out. That's it. So £5 deposit, £350 back. And you can now also refer to us. So once you sign up, what you need to do is put in our tags, our registration usernames, mine being KegTMC and Big Renty's being Matty TMC. So refer to us and you can get a free £5 bet. So pop our names in and get yourself a free bet and play along with us if you can. Where are we? So, yeah, first place Man City are in. We are in 10th. There's a bit of a gap between us, though. There's only 1 point between us and Brighton in 9th. A little bit more of a gap up in 8th. So with only a couple of games left of this season, can't really say we're getting much higher than 9th. So it'd be nice to finish there. But having a look below where there's only 3 points between us and 15th. So that is as low as we can finish. Obviously, with Man City and Arsenal coming up, how many more points are we going to get out of these last 3 games, with Burnley being the last game? Let me know in the comments below how many points you think we can pick up. But yeah, only 3 points between us and 15th. So we've got Leicester, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Brentford, and Southampton in between 10th and 15th. So we need to try and make sure we keep picking up points, try and get a point at least off Arsenal. Massive 3 points against Burnley, who may be fighting for their life on deadline day at home as well for them at Turf Moor. So going to be a tough run in towards this for the end of the season. We are on a run of 1 loss in 4. Obviously, that loss coming in the last game. We did go 4 games unbeaten previous to that. Man City's team news, they are potentially without John Stones and Kyle Walker. They're the only ones that are listed as doubtful for this game. A fair bit to talk about on the Newcastle front. We'll start with what was mentioned in the press conference from the beginning, which was Paul Dummett. It's not really team news, it's just news. Paul Dummett signed a new one-year deal. Contract was expected to run out at the end of the season and be released on a free, but he has getting that new deal. And Eddie Howe says he's a great personality. He's Newcastle through and through. It's very important that the characters in the squad are of the highest quality, and Paul is. He has a lot to offer on the pitch as well. I'm really pleased to see him stay fit for a sustained period of time. He's trained really well. Looking back to the Leeds game, which was pivotal for us, he played with minimal training time, and I thought he was outstanding. He's played his part, and I'm delighted he's staying. So congratulations to Paul Dummett on his new contract. Another one who was expected to, well, not expected to, but his contract was expiring at the end of the season, signed a new deal just last week in Fabian Schär, is doubtful for this game, did go off in the Liverpool game last week. And Eddie says, we haven't seen him this week, so I'm not trained. We hope he'll be back and available, but he's not trained. He got a knock on the top of his foot, so he went for a scan after the Liverpool game because it's swollen up, but fortunately, there's no fracture. So no long-term damage, no big injury, but without training so far this week. Obviously, this press conference was this morning, so we're not sure if he's trained today, and there'll be a training session tomorrow as well. But even so, even if he does just have 2 days training, it is a bit short notice to be thrown in against a big team like Man City in it. So I would say Fabian Schär is a doubt. And bigger news, though, on the injury front, Callum Wilson and Kieran Trippier may be back. No guarantees, but Callum Wilson has trained all week. He's trained very well. He had 2 really tough training sessions, but he's came through them well. He's put a lot of work in to get to this point. He looks in a good place, and there's a good chance he'll be involved in Sunday. Just what we wanted to hear. Fantastic news. And Kieran Trippier as well, who throughout this time that them two have been injured, for the last few weeks, it always seems as if Kieran Trippier was further ahead of Callum Wilson. So we're probably expected to see him back before Wilson, but that isn't the case now, according to Eddie Howe. On Kieran Trippier, he says that Kieran is slightly behind Callum in that he hasn't trained every day, but when he has, he's trained and he's done very well. We'll make a late decision on him. So sounds as if Callum Wilson will likely take up a spot on the bench at best, and then Kieran Trippier will be a late decision. Will he be involved in the matchday squad, likely a spot on the bench as well, or will he be missing out to get another week's training under his belt and then see where we'll go for the Arsenal game next week? It's a Monday game, the Arsenal as well, so we've got a little bit more than a week to go to get them both fit. So we'll see, but yeah, I would expect bench absolute tops. So that's the team news there then, and going to go into... No, there's one more thing I was going to show you, actually, while I remember looking at my visuals. Where is it? I mustn't have noted it down. So, the last time that we played... Oh, yeah, it's there. So the last time that we actually got a win at the Etihad, the one and only win we have at the Etihad since our first game in May 2004, was a game in the League Cup back in the 2014-15 season, which we won. The only game that we've ever won in any competition at the Etihad since 2004. And I seen the team on Twitter today, and I thought it was too funny not to show you. So this is it. Rob Elliott in goal, Daryl Janmaat, Fabrizio Colaccini, Paul Dummett, and Massimo Haidara. Not the worst defense, to be fair. Like, I was a big fan of Haidara, didn't really get much of a game time and was quite injury prone. Janmaat and Colaccini were great. And as we mentioned, Paul Dummett is still here, still in the first team. In a back four, I wouldn't really say he's the strongest centre back. He was always a bit more of a left back in them days. But Ryan Taylor, Mehdi Abeid, and Jack Colback, that's a lift in midfield. When you think Ryan Taylor's a bit more of a... He's more of a winger or a full-back as well, not really a centre mid. And then Gabriel Obertan and Rolando Aarons on the wing. Obviously, Adam Armstrong's back in the Premier League now. Never really got much first-team action for Newcastle anyway. Came up through the ranks, done very, very well at Blackburn and now at Southampton. But he'd have been a kid then, probably his first and potentially only start that I can recall him. But that front three and that midfield with Dummett at the back and Rob Elliott in goal, that is stinking. That, and we got the win away. So I don't know what Man City's team looked like. I can only imagine it was worse than that. But yeah, that's quite interesting, I would say. So we'll go into my team, my predicted team there then, and we'll start with the goalkeeper and the back four. which will look like this with Dubravka obviously in goal. And the only change coming from that news about Fabian Schär probably not going to be fit enough to be involved. Captain Lascelles will be back as he did, replacing Fabian Schär in the game against Liverpool last week, going alongside Dan Burn with the fullbacks Kraft and Target, who've been in brilliant form. I thought they were really, really good against Liverpool. Obviously, a really, really tough game with Salah coming on for the last 20 minutes and Luis Diaz. What a player he is. I've never really seen much of him. Prior to that, I've never really seen too much game time of him before, but the speed, the skill, the ability out wide, like he was giving them a run for their money, particularly Target on the right-hand side on the right wing, going up against our left back for that game, but Kraft as well. They had really tough games when Salah came on. He was on the right. Diaz moved over to the left to give Kraft a little bit of a run, but I think they dealt with them pretty well. Like they had a really, really tough day, but I think they defended really, really well against them. And Dan Burn put in a solid shift as well. With Lascelles when he come on for Fabian Schär. So that's pretty much got to be the back four without Fabian Schär. Could, of course, look into playing a back five, but I mentioned this in me Liverpool lineup prediction. Why not? Like, we haven't really got anything to lose. Like, we're not going to break into the top 8. We're not going to get into Europe, and we're not going to get relegated at this point. Give them a competition instead of going ultimate defensively, like we have done a few times, particularly in Eddie Howe's early days. We played a bit more of like a 5-3-3 kind of formation. How was it? No, that doesn't add up. What do we play like a 5-2-3? Sorry, yeah, I was thinking maths doesn't add up there. It was a 5-2-3 that we played mostly when Eddie Howe first came in, but found the formation, found the personnel, got the bodies playing in the right positions. So yeah, just go for it, man. Like even if we get beat, like say, put in a good shift like we did against Liverpool, defend well, we get beat, a goal, 2 goals. So what? It's not the end of the world. We'll be changing things up a little bit from that Liverpool game. As I mentioned, I wasn't really a big fan of the personnel positions that were decided to go for against Liverpool. We had Joe Willock starting in centre mid alongside Shelvey and Bruno, with Joe Linton out on the left-hand side with Saint-Maximin up top. They rotated a little bit, like with Saint-Maximin drifting out wide every now and then. And we did change things up back to how they should be. It was a come on. Chris Wood eventually did come on, and we put Joe Linton back to where he should be, and Saint-Maximin back to where he should be. I just wasn't feeling it that first half. Like that's where I think the intensity lacked. I think we were much better in the second half, particularly the last 20 minutes. I think we could have pushed for an equaliser quite easily once we got people back to where they should be. So don't really want to see that again. Joe Linton's played out wide a fair bit, particularly in like the latter Steve Bruce era, and when Eddie Howe first came in, was played like on like the right hand side of that 5-2-3 formation and done pretty well. And I like him there. Like that's kind of where he played for Hoffenheim, and it's where I always want to see him play. Obviously, knowing fine well he's not a striker. When Steve Bruce was playing him as a lone striker, that's where I want to see him out wide. And obviously, Brucey never really got the best out of him. You've seen glimpses of him out wide. But he was much better under Eddie Howe. But moving him to centre mid, that's his position. That's where he's got to be. Don't change things up too much. And I'm not really a big fan of Maxi playing down the middle either. I think that's how it would have been better for us against Liverpool if we were going to go into that formation. Instead of Joey being out on the left and Maxi being down the middle, I would have switched it. Like we know Maxi's not a striker. Well, either one, but I meant Joe Linton. We know Joe Linton's not a striker. He's not really a goal getter. But that's what I would have done, and I think it would have made sense. Like because with Van Dijk and Matip at the back, big, strong, physical lads. Like the only thing Maxi could do is try and dribble past them. He's not going to match up to them with a high ball. And they had Joe Gomez on at right back, who's a good right back, played there a lot. I think that's where he was originally positioned when he first came to Liverpool, but taking up more of a central centre-back role with Van Dijk. So yeah, I don't know why we didn't have Saint-Maximin attacking the full-backs and have Joe Linton as a big, strong physical presence going up against the big, strong physical centre-backs. It just didn't work for me. I didn't like that. So yeah, don't want to see that again, Eddie, please, if we can help it. So this is how I'll line up front. Maxi back where he belongs. Chris Wood back in the starting lineup. I can understand why we'd decide to drop Wood. But now we've got Callum Wilson, hopefully going to be on the bench. If things aren't working out, I'd love to see Wilson get a little bit of a run out, but this close towards the end of the season with not a great lot to play for, just a few league positions, I would be risking Callum Wilson. I'd say if we can see him towards the end and he's 100% fit, then fantastic. I'd love to see it. And Almiron, who's been pretty good in recent times as well. So that's my starting 11. That's the way I want to see it. Don't really want to see anything other than that. Joe Willock is unfortunate to miss out, but Bruno, Shelvey, and Joe Litton's been in pretty good form recently, as has Joe. So it's hard to drop someone out of them three, I think. So yeah, Willock's got to take up a spot on the bench, which, fingers crossed, could look like this, with Kieran Trippier, Fabian Schär, Joe Willock, and Callum Wilson on the bench. How beautiful does that look? May not be the case. Obviously, we're not too sure about the fitness levels of Fabian Schär and Kieran Trippier, so it might not look like that, but hopefully we'll get to see Callum Wilson, Joe Willock on the bench with Jacob Murphy as well, and Sean Longstaff. And then it's a decision to make. Obviously, I think Javi Manquillo will definitely be on the bench regardless of Trippier's inclusion or not, which would leave Paul Dummett and Federico Fernandez out of the squad. Whether that'll happen or not after Dummett's new contract, I don't know. That's obviously got to depend on the fitness levels of Trippier, Schär, and Wilson. So that is my lineup there then, guys. Just going to pop that back on the screen, my starting 11. Let me know what you think. What would your 11 be? Put that in the comments below, as well as a score prediction. I'm obviously going to go with a defeat at the Etihad, unfortunately. I'm going to go with a 2-1, I think. 3-1, hopefully at worst. If we can keep it within one goal, 2-1, get a goal at the Etihad, I'll be happy enough with that, as long as we can try and fight last home game of the season against Arsenal, who's been in very good form recently. Try and get a point against that, and then 3 points against Burnley last day of the season. I'll take that. We'll probably finish around about 10th or 11th points there. So we'll see how it is. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Make sure that you come back after Sunday to get some post-match content from us on the channel as well. So make sure that you're subscribing. Hit that big red button. Subscribe to the Magpie Channel TV. Closing in on 20,000 subscribers. Like this video as well. Let's see how many likes we can get on this video. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. Enjoy yourself.